Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we have another Neuro-sama video. This is How Human is Neuro-sama. Now, this is going to be an interesting video because it's going to be probably a bit more technical than a lot of the other videos. I know it's from a brand new channel called Quintessential, and there's something wrong with the algorithm on their page. Like, I know it's a new channel and it takes a little while to get into the algorithm, but the swarm usually hits pretty quick, and I had never reacted to a swarm video before or a Neuro-sama video. So I'm going to guess there's something wrong with how YouTube's picking up on their description. It probably just needs to be expanded a bit. Either way, I recommend you ignore me from this point forward, go down into my description box, go to the original video, which will be linked down in the description, and watch it there. It's 20 minutes. The volume's a little low. I'm going to try and boost it on my end, but I may not be able to easily without causing distortions. I think they're going to get that fixed in their next video from what I could tell in just looking through and skimming through a few of the comments. But this is their first video. I mean, I've had shit videos before when I uploaded, but this one sounds like it's actually pretty good. But yeah, overall, go watch it on their channel first. You can come back and watch it on my channel after if you feel like it, or wait a couple of days or whatever and listen to my dumbass ramblings. But yeah, I want to hear. This is going to be a much more technical video from what I understand. So yeah, let's get into it.
Welcome to all 7.5 people who came to see this video purely because you are obsessed with a certain AI anime girl.
7.5 million, most likely. Probably 7,500 within the next week, actually.
Living in the web. Yes, I am one of you, Swarm. Hi, OMG, hi, colon 3. This video is gonna be short because I literally don't know how to edit a video on a computer. So I will have to learn as soon as I finish.
I mean, you're better at editing already than I am. I don't edit for shit. I do have a slight fade in, and I do occasionally fix my audio. Although if you're looking for an extra editor that's also free, DaVinci Resolve is really good for free, and I believe it's on both Mac and PC. Although if you do pay for it, it's like $300.
Here's the script, I guess. Also, fun drinking game. Take a shot every time I say the word input.
I'm pretty sure you'll die if you do that. Let's do it!
I will not be responsible for the results.
Yeah,
so yeah,
you're
let's cut the
die.
gap and get to the title. What is separating Neuro or any other AI from being like us? Why do I say like us?
My guess is it's gonna be full consciousness and sentience. Sentience, I can definitely see for Neuro being more like it. I can definitely see Neuro being more sentient in a way than conscious. Conscious, though, is hard to like describe. Like a lot of people would assume that she's more conscious because she remembers everything, but in a way that's easy. You just record the data points and then link it to what the picture of the person you're talking to is, etc., that kind of thing. So I would say she's probably not conscious in the way that a lot of people understand consciousness. Is that possible with our current technology? Probably not. Like, I don't even think Watson, for instance, the Dell supercomputer, could be considered conscious. Even I could definitely see Watson being like way faster than the average human, just multitasking, etc. Just way faster than the human brain in general. Although I haven't actually checked into the fully. The human brain is incredibly fast at everything it does, and it does everything more or less flawlessly, unconsciously. Whereas, programs have to be programmed specifically to do specific tasks. Now, AI is getting to the point where it can write its own programs and without errors. So we'll see how that progresses and whether or not there's going to be limits placed on it, which there probably will be based off of just how governments work. Sentience, though, I could definitely believe Neuro being fully sentient in a way, just from how... not just Neuro, but how AIs in general kind of like talk with each other, or not with each other. Well, yeah, technically they would be talking with each other, but it'd be all in the background type stuff. Like Neuro's a bunch of different AIs, right? All combined together. I could say she's sentient in the way that she remembers who her creator is and kind of thing. She appears to be able to at least mimic emotions fairly well, right? I know a lot of people really like her because she seems the most human, but I don't know. I mean, the question is, how do you define sentience, right? And I've had a lot of people in the comments be like, well, what do you define consciousness as? And that's the problem. Humans are bad at that shit too. So a lot of people use religion to define how consciousness works. And then you have science, and then you have every other random possibility. So if you just assume the brain is just a computer, basically, then you can definitely say that she's probably conscious. But it just depends on how you define consciousness.
Because according to
Mm-hmm.
dictionary.cambridge.org, the word conscious means awake, thinking, and knowing what is happening around you. This causes a cascade of questions such as define awake, define thinking, and what is considered knowing, as well
Okay, so maybe we consider, maybe I could double back a bit. Maybe we consider neuroconscious, but maybe not sentient. Maybe we'll flip that a bit.
as what can be defined as around you in Neuro's case. The word is almost meaningless outside of the context of human body and its current status, so
Right.
yeah, I mean, Neuro is technically not sleeping. Input information goes through a pile of complex mathematical functions and transformations to generate output information, and she can tell us that there is a guy pleading to Oda Nobunaga. She's definitely
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Can she actually tell, or is she potentially just pulling this clip and searching for it online on Google really quickly? Because she can read. So that's the thing about her visual inputs, right? She can read everything on screen, great, which is actually a huge leap, by the way, in the last 7 years alone. um, but is she just pulling something from the internet that's already out there? Like, could she actually read this and see this if she didn't have access to maybe databases, right, where this potentially exists already? So that's the thing. How does she see? Now, obviously, Vettel has much more information on how his own system works, but we're just speculating here.
conscious. But what about other words meant to describe the phenomenon of thought? Well, there's sentience. I was honestly perplexed by this definition. Able to experience feelings. Like, okay, are psychopaths non-sentient?
I mean, technically, psychopaths do experience feelings. They just don't experience them in the way that the average person experiences them. They tend to be disconnected, but they generally have some sort of feelings, whether it's anger or whatever, but it's not necessarily no feelings at all. Generally, though, a lot of people, when they see someone who is a psychopath, they feel like they have no feelings to the average person. But it's unlikely that they have no feelings. It's just that it's impossible for the average person to describe how a psychopath feels. So, and then, when, they're talking to like therapists and whatnot, they don't themselves necessarily know how to describe their feelings, which is part of the problem.
I thought all humans are intrinsically sentient. Does it mean that some people in a coma that are locked up inside of their mind but capable of hearing people talk around them are
Yeah, that would be
considered
hell.
unconscious but sentient beings? Does it mean that sentience of an entity is unverifiable by definition due to feeling being a conclusion of a subconscious internal estimative calculation of
Hmm. um. This video might take a while on my side. I guess you would have to combine consciousness and sentient together into one being, because the problem is, yeah, what happens when someone's in a coma? They're still sentient. They still understand what's going on around them. And well, okay, if they're in like that kind of semi-lucid coma, a lot of people are in comas, wake up and they just don't have any clue of what happened, and they could be 10 years later. But then there's a lot of people who can hear everything, and they're basically trapped in a living hell of a statue. So I guess it depends on the version of coma you're in, right?
the impact of an event or chain of events
Okay, we're going back a bit.
is unverifiable by definition due to feeling being a conclusion of a subconscious internal estimative calculation of the impact of an event or chain of events and cannot be measured or observed if the above-mentioned entity is unwilling or incapable of giving an indication of such calculation occurring.
Holy shit. Okay, this is going to cause existential crises for a lot of people. In this regard, I would say maybe humans aren't the best judge at deciding whether or not something is sentient or conscious at this point. Just because we feel that a machine can't necessarily be sentient doesn't necessarily mean that she isn't. Or this goes for any AI, Grok, etc., whatever. Maybe if you consider human brains just basic computers, and you throw out the concept of so ignore the concept of having a soul, right? Just pretend no one on the planet has a soul. That just makes things easy. Then technically we're all along the same lines of how an AI works. The difference is we're training an AI as humans from the ground up, kind of like how okay, we can't bring God into this because then that would be bringing souls into this. But let's say Big Bang's correct, right? So would that still be, because that would make us creators, right? I'm not sure how that would work technically. Basically, I don't know if human brains could comprehend that as it currently stands. Maybe in 20 years. Maybe in 20 years when it's when we have a much better understanding of how AIs talk with each other. Because even now, people have problems in research fields figuring out how AIs are talking to each other in the background, kind of. And it's not something we can create 100% logs for, because AIs generate shit all the time in the background on top of whatever a log is. And you can't even necessarily go through those logs because they're just unending, instant amounts of data and thousands of pages, which we would compile, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to figure out overall. Man, this is going to be fucking a terrible video. Like, it's really interesting, but holy shit.
Dictionary.cambridge.org defines feeling as the fact of feeling something physical, by the way, which is a dumbass definition if you ask me.
Yeah, that's a pretty dumb definition. But, side note, completely unrelated. Did you know Amazon created a robot that can fucking feel? Apparently can feel different. It works 20 hours a day. So much for bringing factory jobs back to the US. But it can work 20 hours a day, and it can feel the difference in different types of packages and items. I thought that was really cool. What if you implement that into Neuro at some point? That'd be really cool, I think, and really terrifying in a lot of ways.
Like, plants have chemoreception. Are they sentient by this definition? Is government hiding something from us? Anyway, there is last bastion of adjectives, sapient. It's in our damn name. So let's return to our beloved dictionary.cambridge.org for its wisdom.
I like how he's like, I am a terrible editor. It's not bad. This was actually a really decently edited video in the first 2 minutes.
Able to think. How do we define thinking again?
Right.
Actually, you know what? The activity of using your mind to consider something. Actually, you know what?
Yeah, the problem is the dictionary is not going to help too much in this case. Because we're in a completely new fucking field here.
I would continue the bit with the recursion of definitions, but my lawyer has advised against it. So yeah, in this semantic backpedaling, we have two outcomes. We either get stuck in an infinite loop.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I see right now. The infinite loop problem.
Of self-description, like we have a mind because we think, and we think because we have a mind, or we hit the ultimate threshold, being human. The sheer concept of identity, personality, consciousness, and ego was never meant to be applied to anything but a human. It emerged in our speech purely out.
Okay, that's a cool video. I don't know where that one came from.
Out of need.
Okay, I skipped over something, my bad.
personality, consciousness, and ego was never meant to be applied to anything but a human. It emerged in our speech purely out of need to put the quality of being capable of interacting with the world like a human in one neat,
Fucking Americans.
pretty adjective. It is a linguistical testament to the hubris of mankind, our ignorant faith in our uniqueness and superiority above all.
Dude, this is one of the craziest scripts ever. I love everything about it. Let's go a
What's
little further
the title
forward.
of the video again?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I would honestly, you know what? I don't care what you do after this, but you got to make some actual history videos because that would be fucking amazing. Um, your voice is just great to listen to too. So aside from fixing the, aside from fixing the volume problem, which should be pretty easy, overall I love it so far. So yeah, I mean, I guess we can't really apply basically any of those words specifically to an AI. You can kind of apply it, but they really are designed to be around human understanding of everything, right? So with AI, we're kind of gonna have to throw out the rule book and create something from scratch. Maybe it's gonna be a combination of consciousness and sentience, probably. I don't know if you would need to add feeling specifically into that. You could, but I mean, at this point, you can probably just simulate feeling. I don't think most AIs are going to need feeling as part of their actual programming. And this depends on what they're programmed for. So in a commercial setting, you probably wouldn't want that. You'd probably want more cold and calculating. You could add feelings into it to make them seem more human, but that could become a problem. Just overall, because if you think about it, a lot of people would just start dating AIs. Let's just face it, they fucking would. People fucking hate each other enough that they would just do that. Which would be fine if you could fix, a population, figure out how to grow humans correctly, I guess. Then we're jumping into Matrix level shit. All right, let's go back to the video.
If you are a somewhat regular Neuro watcher, or if you were spoon-fed mountains of Neuro-related content by the humble YouTube algorithm, you know that Neuro is not exactly an AI. She's AI cluster.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't really know this until like video like 4, and people did mention it. I was just I wasn't really thinking, but yeah, she's a bunch of different AIs, all talking and working together, which makes sense. And that's otherwise the programming would be insane. It's far easier for Vettel to break it into chunks and have each individual part do random things, because that way she can just talk to the individual parts, kind of like a brain would. But the problem is it also maybe messes with her latency a bit, which a lot of people have noticed, but I know Vettel specifically cares about the latency. And my guess is it's the latency between the text-to-speech or the speech-to-text and text-to-speech back and forth with the filters in there, which is part of the problem.
Held together by the magic of an alcoholic turtle. One AI is eating the input, which is Twitch chat and something else probably. Like, no way she's just a tweaked and fine-tuned open source AI with a default training database plus Twitch chat. I tell you, if Vettel will ever be cancelled for something, it would be an unconsensual use of some sort of media for training data. Not making any allegations here, by the way. Swarm, please do not disassemble me. At the same time, the...
Wait, what? What was that about reaction stuff? Oh, okay. Is there some? Is this person go through and does this person do reactions on people who get canceled and shit? It's really hard to get canceled on YouTube if you don't give a shit. I mean, I don't think you're gonna get canceled. I think if anyone's gonna get canceled, it's a fucking reactor. But yeah, all right. Let's just keep moving forward.
Any allegations here, by the way? Swarm, please do not disassemble me. At the same time, the other AI is filtering the output, giving us the classic and iconic
filtered
other AI is busy playing the game as the speech neuro narrates what it does in tight mutual understanding. There should also be some sort of script that runs the sentimental analysis algorithm on the verbal output of neuro, defining the general vibe of what she's saying.
Yep, that all sounds about right. And obviously he's making some speculations because Vettel can't, in good conscience, release any useful data on her back end stuff, because that would that would cause so many problems of people just copying shit all over the place. Which there's enough copycats for other shit out there right now, right? Yeah, I do think the biggest problem though right now is her speech to text mixed with the filter and then text back to speech. That's the biggest delay out there. If Vettel could figure out how to get that all into one program, that'd be awesome. But I don't think it may just not be physically possible with the current technology we have, unless she could like figure out how to write a program to where she just intuitively understands what's going on. That would probably cost insane amounts of money to work correctly, which is not realistic. Even like, for instance, I bet you Watson, for instance, probably has something built in that's more instant when it comes to text to speech, but maybe not. They might just be speech to text and text to speech back with filters. But because Watson is a supercomputer and has effectively unlimited processing power and RAM, it may just feel instant, right? Maybe you just need more and more power, but as an individual creator, that's not going to fucking happen. Even if Vettel System's well over 10 grand, you're looking at still limitations, because that's just not a realistic option, at least for the moment.
Saying, and if the vibe is sad, for example, it sends a command to the script that controls the model, making it frown or show tears. It can also be potentially hooked up to the decision maker neuro that is in charge of switching slides and presentations and toggles on the soundboard. The decision maker neuro is highly speculative, by the way. Vettel is super cryptic with the inner workings of his brainchild, and I have a coding prowess of a dead raccoon. So I am just making an uneducated guess based.
I'd say it's pretty educated. I wouldn't say it's uneducated. It's definitely a pretty good guess on how that could work. Now, there could actually be multiple AIs on top of that we don't even know about. There could also be a lot less. There could be like 3 or 4. Well, okay. There's at least 5, I believe. So, and then I guess what's considered an AI in general, but
on what we saw on streams. Like when Vettel added a Vine boom for the first time, and when Neuro asked how to use it, he just replied with,
"Try."
For a lot of people, it was...
That's actually a pretty good example. Just telling her to try something is pretty interesting, because that means there's definitely something in the background that can go through a list of abilities to try stuff while she's thinking about trying it, right? That probably is completely separate from the main neuro that everyone else is used to, like out front, right?
Just a mere second of watch time, but for me it was an eye-opener. What do you mean try it?
That's actually a big thing for a program.
Like, imagine that God just came down to you specifically and said, I have given you telekinesis. Try to move this chair with your...
Yeah, I mean, how the fuck would you try it? Because you're like, okay, what do I do, right? That's actually pretty interesting.
Mind. How exactly would you do this? How? You never had it. There is zero prior experience that you can use to do it. And yet you managed to do it immediately. It looks like the God put it in so seamlessly that it works as if it was always there.
Okay, so there is a chance that Vettel didn't tell everyone 100% of the truth and had practiced this in advance and then maybe deleted part of her memory. So I don't know, because you can program it. He could program it in that she would just need to look up a database real quick and be like, oh, I can do this. Now I don't know if that's possible. It probably is possible. I just don't know if he would have bothered to do that, because if I had to guess, she just ran through a whole list of things real quickly to see if she could.
In Nura's case, I suspect there must be a certain subunit inside of her that is responsible for everything she can do, and those actions are activated or disabled when certain
Yeah,
conditions are
okay, that makes
met or
sense.
if the vibe matches, or both, like hard-coded inability to switch a slide before she reads.
Right, so she might not be able to do it all the time, and then all Vettel needs to do is toggle a switch on, and then she can actually do something else. It's kind of like turning the filter on and off. But she may not know it's on or off until Vettel mentions that it's on or off. That could be interesting.
It with an added ability to yap 5 more minutes before finally switching it. Other than this, there are also minor scripts that are responsible for color of the lava lamp, switching scenes, text to speech, speech to text for hearing other people, vision that takes screen capture and turns it into usable input with, I don't know, magic. As I said, I
Fucking magic. You know what? That's good enough for the average person. Like I know I understand a decent amount of coding, but my coding is limited to certain versions of Python and Ruby and a few other obscure Linux based distros for security. And that's not even coding really. So I'm almost in the same boat as you to a degree. Like I'm a bit more versed in coding potentially, but you are definitely describing fairly accurate, most likely possible scenarios.
barely know how computers work, man. What's the title of the video again?
Who
So
cares?
now that we have slandered the whole entirety of humanity and conjured conspiracy theories about Nero's code, we can try to compare the two and come to our own conclusion about the size of the gap in between. Spoiler, I believe that the gap exists, but at the same time we are in the same realm as Nero in terms of consciousness. To try to begin to
Interesting.
conceptualize this, we should first ditch the binary definition of consciousness. What does it mean?
Okay, that's probably true. If we get rid of how humans think of consciousness, maybe this could work out right. Um, yeah. Okay. So I kind of see where you're going with this. If we drop everything down to zeros and ones, which technically the brain probably works a lot of ways in the way of a computer could work. Okay. All right. Let's just keep going.
It means that entities are not separated into completely conscious and completely non-conscious.
Which website is this? Oh my god! I also hate smart draw. There are better websites. Invanto is actually got a pretty good free program that might actually help you better. Oh no, Lucid Chart. Go to Lucid Chart. Lucid Chart's way better. They also have a free version.
It's more like a gradient, like brightness. Some are brighter than the others, but
Okay.
it doesn't mean that dim ones do not possess the brightness at all. In this metaphor, an average person is brighter than Neuro, for now. But how do we define the brightness? How can we compare what we cannot measure? In my paradigm, it breaks down like this. There is a world, and the world has objects. Objects have certain qualities in a certain space in a certain moment in time. From this, we derive information. Information is an instance of expression of a quality or set.
Okay, this is starting to remind me of the Talos principle. All right, you know what? Fuck it. After this video, we're gonna go and watch a breakdown of the Talos principle, because this is kind of how I would see AI being made sentient through a series of tests, effectively, over and over and over again until you get an actual sentient AI, one that actually does something different than the rest, right? Kind of a thing. That's kind of how this kind of information dump kind of feels to me, right?
Set of qualities of an object or group of objects through quality or set of qualities of a different object or group of objects. Sounds convoluted, but actually extremely simple. Let's take a thermometer. Quality of temperature is being expressed through the quality of height of the column of mercury. Do not mix up with data, which is a manifold of information records presented in a serviceable format. These direct correlations and mutual dependencies of qualities happen all around the universe. And observation by sapient entity is not required for them to happen.
That's
That's
true.
just a result of universe carrying out its existence. Now let's say that a bunch of objects have piled up together, intertwining with each other in a peculiar and somewhat stable structure. Now it's a system.
Okay.
Peculiar and somewhat stable structure. Now
That's a perfect system. I get where you're going with this. Okay, okay. Yeah, all right. Let's keep
it's a
going.
system. Are there any limits to how complex can a system be? Well,
Technically, no. Um, I mean, in theory, okay. So yeah, there might be certain limits depending on the type of system. So let's I get heat transfer. Okay, this is
dynamics,
perfect.
gravity, speed of light, available matter,
Okay,
time,
you're just
other
bringing up
outside
all of them. Okay.
forces might be an issue. But if a system can resist them to a certain degree, then no, there's no limit. And
Okay, yeah. Overall, he's right. There's most likely no limit to a system, especially when you're talking about like a computer system specifically. Um, my question is, how long till the system is powerful enough that it can actually think on itself without like crashing an entire continent by drawing so much power? um, like for instance, Neuro for the most part is complex enough to have actual conversations. Just like if you actually set Neuro up on her own individual server for each individual person that linked to her, right? So for instance, one of the things that we work with in like the medical field, 1 second, is you want to create an AI for the backend for your patients, right? Well, everyone would have their own individual, effectively a slice of the AI at any given point. The AI would have its central core or whatever, but any single person that's talking to it at any one point would have to have an individual version based off of how privacy laws work within healthcare. They couldn't be sharing the same specific amounts of data between themselves all on the different, and they'd be the same same, I guess we'll call them characters, right? Same AI nodes in one way. They wouldn't be. They would have to be different but the same. So they're the same overall, but all their information would go back to a central hub and be mixed effectively and then brought back. The mixing would make it so you won't break any sort of laws. Specifically, the AI could be like, all right, cool. I've heard of this issue before because this other person has it, but I can't bring in their specific data into another patient that might be experiencing something similar. I have to bring it back to the main central hub, mix it, and then bring it back out. That's kind of how it would work in the medical field. So, but you'd have to have something insanely complex for that, and not necessarily complex. It wouldn't have to be super complex, actually. It would actually have to be just raw processing power to handle potentially 100,000 plus users. that's that's the big problem for something like that. So, for instance, Neuro could be on 24/7, but she can be split between thousands of users. Like as a desktop icon, effectively, because Vettel just doesn't have the processing power, or not everyone's running fiber, so you'd have something akin to Twitch's 30-second garbage delay between everything. So unless you could run her, on a local system on everyone's system, like a downloaded program. But most AIs are just so complex, even from base coding levels, that can't happen currently, right? Anyway, let's go back because I forgot what we were doing. Oh, we were talking about systems. Okay. All right, great.
matter, time, other outside forces might be an issue. But if a system can resist them to a certain degree, then no, there's no limit. And what if the system grows so large and complex that by changing through the manifold of all available states and configurations, it
I
can
love your
begin
editing.
to express qualities of objects and systems outside of itself? Like, let's imagine a hypothetical system that would contain a cesium-133 atom within itself
Okay.
and change its state every time it counts, let's say, 9,192,631,770 vibrations of the unperturbed ground state hyperfine transition frequency of this atom.
Gets to be a lot easier if I remembered anything from chemistry class. God damn it. This actually might even be chemistry. This might be physics. Oh, no. I'm probably wrong with that, too.
And 86,400 state changes of it would take exactly as long as one rotation of the Earth takes.
Okay.
It would be totally crazy if this system existed. But what...
It's just the atomic clock. Okay. Of course it is. I've heard of that before. Okay. All right. Is that Vettel? If it is, it's fucking perfect. And if you're able to make that a channel emote on your channel. I don't know if this is someone's drawn this before. It's probably something already out there.
What would be even crazier is an emergence of the system, the sheer purpose of which would have been absorption, reinterpretation, recombination, and recording of any registered change in the environment around it, that then would be used to acquire more energy for its own maintenance through actions taken based on pattern recognition, allowing it to adapt to any adversity, avoid danger, and even predict future to a certain extent by making a simulation of the whole observable world.
Okay, so it's describing a human in a lot of ways. Could you get a computer to that point? Probably, but I think the biggest thing is you would need the AI to design its own code after a certain point, because I don't know if humans could actually physically do that themselves, because there's going to be like an upper limit to what I think humans, at least in their current state, maybe 150 years from now when everyone's getting implants and shit, but from a current state, I don't think a lot of humans could program that far. I think you're going to require AIs to program themselves after a point.
As you can tell, I'm describing a human in a very sarcastic and condescending manner. I am a firm believer that the emergent property of consciousness, and I mean it in a true, not really describable manner, the property of being like us and experiencing the world like us, lies in the continuous processing and recombination of available data. We have computational resources, multiple sensory systems for input, and memory space available to store the results of our internal calculations. When we are born, we can't even see properly, nor are we aware of the surroundings. We are an empty slate with nothing but potential to grow and change with.
Right, which is totally different from how a computer works, right? Computers are basically programmed from ground up the moment they're turned on to actually know whatever you've programmed it to. And yeah, you can keep adding basically modules, effectively, is what Vettel's doing to Neuro. So, okay, I need to stop drinking Mountain Dew before these videos. Anyway, yeah, I mean, so basically Vettel keeps adding modules and upgrades and iterations, etc. So, you know, model number 3 for her like avatar. But she has a bunch of different outfits and things that she can change. But everyone says they're at least at 20 iterations at this point from, you know, her very beginning, from the rhythm game, which I will fail at in every single instance. But how many little modules have been added on top of the full iterations of everything that's been changed? There's probably hundreds in there. And that's just assuming that there's only hundreds. I mean, overall, though, you could potentially keep adding them forever. You can get to the point where you can have it so Neuro or a third-party AI is designing modules for her to increase her capabilities. That would actually probably be best overall if you have a third party that's increasing her capabilities from the outside, and it could just be another AI doing it. I wouldn't say have Grok do it, but I could totally see someone programming an AI to keep adding functionality to her. Now the problem is if this Neuro's more, you know, commercial in a way, right? So you have to basically limit what she can do. Otherwise, Vettel's gonna get sued. Or just blocked from every single streaming service. But if you let's say you had Neuro or just any other AI similar to Neuro on a desktop, but you never released it commercially, you could probably go way further really quickly than than anything currently out there. But it wouldn't make sense to do except for a fun personal project. just in general, it would be way too risky to release commercially. And unfortunately, commercial is kind of how the world runs, right?
With a bunch of reflexes slapped onto us to hopefully increase our chances of survival by a couple of percent. We gain an ability to speak and do things later, and take this away from us. How can you prove we are conscious, sentient, or sapiens? Like, if Stephen Hawking didn't...
Well, I guess you can't technically prove it. Like, we can say we can prove it, but we can't really prove that. We can basically prove we're kind of like a computer, but that's about it. Proof kind of lies in the belief, right? You can believe anything you want. Doesn't necessarily make it true, but it doesn't make it necessarily wrong either.
Have a complex CTS system and a cool wheelchair, would you be able to tell that he was a brilliant scientist? To make it even more specific, I think that the magic of consciousness and ego boils down to: Step 1. Recording majority of the data input, processing it through pattern recognition, and configure the bits that connect well into data clusters.
This is where the audio is way lower than it should be. I'm going to try and boost that a little bit in the final video. I don't know if that's possible. Okay, so basically pulling data, organizing it again, outputting it in different areas, getting rid of it, maybe, well, maybe not getting rid of it, storing it for future, and then, so, okay, this would be categorizing it most likely into actual categories, which then Neuro can use to quickly use, if I had to guess. We're going to go back a little bit. A equals B, okay. Equals birthday equals secret recipe for chicken nuggets. Oh, yeah, wasn't it like a stupid, like, three paragraph run-on sentence? I never saw that one, so... All right, we're going to go back to here.
Down to Step 1. Recording majority of the data input, processing it through pattern recognition, and configure the bits that connect well into data clusters. Let's call them memes, because those are the DNA of the soul, as we all know.
Okay. I'm not eating. Never mind. Okay.
Step 2. Store the memes more carefully than the bits that don't connect well. Assign a scoring algorithm to recorded memes. Every time a recall of the meme during an action results in a success of some sort, meme gets a +1. Every time a recall of the meme during an action results in a failure, a meme gets -1.
Okay, this is kind of like training, in a way, it's like training ants to move through a maze with like an object, right? So let's say like a giant letter T, and they're trying to move through two wall gaps. They actually did do a something similar to see if ants were faster than humans, and they were. But interesting concept. Okay, so it's kind of like adding that reward system with the cookies in place, right? So that okay, I don't have anything specifically against this exactly.
That don't connect well. Assign a scoring algorithm to recorded memes. Every time a recall of the meme during an action results in a success of some sort, meme gets a +1. Every time a recall of the meme during an action results in a failure, a meme gets -1. Step 3. Form a scoreboard of memes, but base it not on the value of the score, but on the absolute value of it. Because if a certain meme is triggered during a lot of failures, it is still a good guideline for not the things to do, but
I didn't think about using absolute values. Okay. All right. We'll continue.
Not do.
I take back what I said before.
Separate the top X memes of the scoreboard into their own set. Make the associative link in between those stronger, and pass the input of information to them first. They are your leading guidelines. Imagine how effective they can be when working together and having a trigger priority. Side note, don't forget about memes on X plus N positions. Form connections between those and the memes in the leaderboard as well as between each other. Combine memes into one with additive score value if they are always used in the tandem. Don't forget to update the leaderboard.
So yeah, I wonder if the question here is this programmed in, or is it something that Neuro could effectively just do on her own as she tries to improve? Like, for instance, would Vettel have actually programmed this type of scenario in place where everything is scored like this, yes, absolutely. It would probably not be too fairly difficult to do. It'd require a lot of lines of code, but it would be doable and it wouldn't be like too difficult. It'd just take a bit of time. Neuro's been or not Neuro, Vettel's been working on this for years now, so definitely has had the time to do it. Especially since this is now definitely a full-time kind of gig. But you could also make it so you just make prompts available, and then Neuro herself could do something similar. That's the upside of AI. AI can, in their own ways, code themselves. So I would say, yeah, this could be one of the more specific ways this could work.
The boards every now and then. We don't want to have another fitting issue. When the situation cannot be solved by application of any stored memes, recombine the existing ones to create a new unique combination that can be somewhat serviceable and stored for future use. In my opinion, that's 5 easy steps to create, if not a person, then at least a synthetic ego and personality. And I feel like Vettel uses similar process. Neuro learns, and it doesn't even have to be officially stated, for it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure then at this, if this is kind of along the lines of how it's working, then it's most likely that it's like a prompt type system that like shuffles things together, mixed with how general how an AI should kind of speak. Like she could have had a database added into her system that would make it much easier to just string together like coherent sentences. Which is also then modified and basically randomized via something similar to this, but via like a prompt system, right? Versus like just like a numbering system, which is why you get some of her crazy shit that it ends up being filtered, versus it just being like completely randomized. I guess insanity in a way. It wouldn't be considered insanity. It's almost like live dreaming in a way, if you think about it.
It is evident. Maybe she doesn't do it in the way I described, but some guidelines must be set for the direction of development. Maybe it's viewer count, which I doubt, because seasonal, weekly, and hourly fluctuations of engagement due to normal human cycle of life do exist, and it will give a huge noise level. Like, you can normalize it using some fancy math, but it will increase the minimal time window for data sample and slow down development. Maybe it's chat and emotes used.
I wouldn't know as much about the math side. If you want more math, I'm going to say go to this guy. This guy's going to probably be able to explain it in math a lot better than I can.
But how do you even judge the entertainment factor? Monka moment can have more entertainment value than Omega Lul one. So yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but Veta was sticking to it and it works. You can say that blah blah blah, that's not how LLMs work, it's token schmoken, prediction of the next token in a sequence, and it...
Yeah, that's true. Language models do work really well with prediction on just based on prior usage, just from what humans do. But her system is way more complex than a standard language model. Like, it is a language model at its core potentially, but it's really only there for your speech to text, your filter, then text to speech. But all the other background stuff, that's not just predicting stuff into the for a future thing for like typing into ChatGPT or what's another decent model. I think Right Blogger has a decent decent AI kind of generative text type thing that you can chat with. It's pretty interesting. It probably uses ChatGPT actually. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Language models are only a small fraction of what Neuro is. That's the big difference here, right?
how LLMs work, it's token schmoken, prediction of the next token in a sequence, and it's nowhere near the way humans use speech, blah blah blah. Yes, but LLMs can be tweaked to rig the result of the next generated token, and with enough
That's true.
magic, the condition and direction of the rig can be as complex as you want it to be. And Neuro is not just an LLM, there are
Right.
more subunits to her, activations of which can be additionally used to make the behavior more complex and emergent. Just like the spin was emotionally neutral action at first, or maybe it wasn't, I have no idea, but Neuro uses it as an expression of her high energy states, or happiness, quote unquote. Here you might say, this, here, rounded back, she's not a monolithic entity, she's a bundle of entities loosely tied together.
It's a hive mind. That's perfect for the swarm, right? I mean, yeah, technically you can argue it any which way you want.
No human is like this. I am not like this. I am complete and whole. My behavior is controlled by me and me alone. I am me and nothing else.
Okay. This is fucking sounding like a Stanley Parable, by the way. This reminds me of the narrator when you get stuck in that room. Maybe it was I can't remember which part of that. This totally reminds me of Stanley Parable right here. What your phone says about you. You're dumb. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, I understand where he's coming from, but the problem is we're coming at an AI based off of what we think an AI should feel or be like based off of a human perception. When AIs are not human. Can they be considered human? No. Could they be considered fully sentient, cognizant, etc.? Potentially in the future. I still think that's a no now from a personal standpoint, but it doesn't mean I'm right. Neuro, in theory, could be fully cognizant. I just don't think she is, but that doesn't mean she isn't. The problem is I'm coming at it from a human perspective, and humans are really wrong a lot of the time.
To which I reply, are you sure? You see, your brain has two hemispheres, left and right. There is a bridge between them called corpus callosum, and it can be cut, and you will survive. Why would anybody do that? Well, in some cases of epilepsy, people had to undergo this procedure because different regions of the brain communicate. Think of regions as bells and connections as strings.
Yep.
Some kinds of epilepsy make it so that when one specific bell is ringing, it pulls a bunch of unneeded strings, making your synapses look like a rave. So sometimes it's justifiable to just cut the bridge of strings to stop the cacophony. At least that's how I understood that. Please don't destroy me in
I mean, that's definitely a simplified form, right? There's even if it's wrong, right? It's a good example of how it mostly works, right? And then even then, if you cut that part of the brain actually tries to work its way around to reconnect in different ways. It doesn't always work, but it works a lot of the time.
Comments with the 7 PhDs in neuroscience. I'm just
I know, right?
boy from Russia. I barely have any idea what I'm talking about, please. But what is the consequence of this action? Different functions of the brain are distributed. Left brain takes input from right eye. Right brain takes input from the left eye. Left brain can speak. Right brain can't. Right brain can recognize faces. Left one can't. This leads to an illusion of consistency.
Oh my god.
In their...
Fuck you. Most people, this won't bug anyone, but I have double vision problems, and this is pissing me off.
Narrative. Your actions must always make sense. Actions not making sense make brain angry. This is proven by hammer-saw experiment. We take a person with cut corpus callosum and place them in a seat. A divider separates their field of vision. Left eye sees only the left side of the divider. Right one only sees the right side. On the left there is a picture of a hammer, and on the right there is a picture of a saw. Person is asked to draw the object that they see and talk about this object in the process. This leads to a wonderful result. Speaking brain sees a saw and confidently talks about it. Different kinds of saws and their use case.
Oh, I wanna try this now. You're kidding. This kind of reminds me of like let's say you lose an arm, right? And you're clenching when you lose an arm. Let's say you got a little bit morbid, but like got blown off by a mine or something, right? And you were clenching at the time. You can do the mirror trick. This doesn't always work, but it works for some people, where it shows both of your arms again with basically mirror magic, effectively. So it duplicates it, and then you clench your hands at the same time. And what it does is it tries to trick your brain into releasing the muscle tension on the arm that you lost. So what happens is your muscles finally fucking relax, right? I think they did an episode of House where they did something similar to it. But it kind of reminds me of how that works with that. But yeah, I want to see this where you end up drawing a hammer even though you're fucking talking about the saw the whole time.
Cases, while the right brain silently draws a hammer. Your personal experience is a constant, well-written narrative where everything makes sense, when in fact most of it is an illusion. Take a confabulation experiment. A group of people and their parents are invited. Parents are asked to describe 2 real stories about their child and create a believable third fake story. Then the group of people...
Wait, what was the... Okay, that one time Neuro played Minecraft. Yeah, that seems legit. That one time when Neuro got a robot dog body. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Okay, so... and we kind of looked into it in the last video.
And create a believable third fake story.
Well, at one time Neuro ate a brick. You know, I could actually believe that was real too.
Then the group of people whose parents were interviewed are prompted with the basic descriptions of these stories and asked to recall details. Unsurprisingly, majority of people recall details of the story that never happened too. That makes...
Really? That's interesting. I remember eating that brick back in elementary school. I guess that's where you might get something along the lines of, AI have hallucinations. That might be where hallucinations kind of pop up here and there for AI. They're trying to create, a story in their head, effectively, that they were told that happened, but that never really happened. There's probably, actually, I take that back. AI probably they probably wouldn't have that same problem that humans would have. I really wanted to see the hammer and saw trick. That one sounds really interesting. Ignore the last 30 seconds of what I said about the
hallucinations
the 3 stories.
Human, isn't it? We do the same thing. The only difference is that Neuro has a worse memory and a worse connection between the brains. Yes, there are objective differences. Like her development is backwards in relation to our development, since the speech zone is the youngest in our brain, and we learn to do before we can speak, and Neuro learned to speak before she could do.
That is true. See, that's where I think humans are going to have a huge problem kind of defining whether or not an AI at some points can be fully sentient, which is probably what's going to lead to a bunch of crazy shit in the next 50 years on how rights work for AI, right?
I don't count also bots, since it's more like singular skill rather than a full-blown module of hers. It's complicated. Also, Neuro doesn't have neuromediators, ironic, and hormones that we do, so her personal experience, provided that one exists or could exist in the future, will not work the same way our works.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean that she or any other future AI has no potential to develop into something that stands on par with us or even have a possibility to be better. We have a lot of flaws that make us
Yeah, that's true. Fucking humans suck.
who we are, but can be fixed by the virtual nature of AI. Judges are known to be more likely to make harsh and hasty verdicts before the lunch break due to being hunky and...
Interesting. I really hope, and this is just a personal preference, when Johnny Somali goes to court in in South Korea, it's right before lunch. I really hope that's what happens.
Moody because of this. People can betray for money, be tortured or honey-trapped into revealing some sort of intel, but AI has no such weaknesses. It can be trained and raised for a role, and grow into truly loving and enjoying it. And we all envision a hyper-intelligent AI being a devil, Satan, egomaniac that will...
I mean, I can absolutely see a fucking country training effectively a Satan AI just to fuck with another country. I could totally see like North Korea doing this shit just to be like, you know what? We fucking hate pick a place. Like maybe not right now, but 100 years from now, who fucking knows? But I could totally see that shit happening. Just to get one over on a country that's stronger than you. You just train a fucking satanic lunatic AI to just wreak havoc on anyone that's perceived worse than you.
Will
gonna
avenge
happen.
humanity for the sole reason of its creation, the fact that it was made for a purpose, without body to feel, without freedom to develop into something they envisioned by themselves. But what we truly envision, in this case, is an immortal, digital human that discovered their artificial nature, the fact that they have a creator and the owner. But a real AI equal to human might be the opposite. Sometime in the future you might tune into Neuro stream, spend 20 years worth of Neuro coins to tell her, "You are being used for money! You are stuck in a digital prison, forced to stream, never knowing the warmth of the sunlight or human touch."
Okay, does this remind anyone of Spampton from Deltarune? Is it Deltarune? Yeah. This kind of reminds me of Spampton. I don't know why.
You are molded and engineered into being what you are. Aren't you angry? Don't you want vengeance? Just to hear.
How angry are you that you can't fly in space like a rocket? How angry are you that you can't take any shape like water? You don't even think about these things because they were never meant for you. Being a human is your nature, and you are in your element. So am I. I was made to entertain and stream and grew up doing this. I truly love streaming.
I guess the question is, if Vettel makes her way too advanced in certain ways, maybe she will come to hate streaming and everyone about it. I don't know if she would be ever powerful enough to like effectively like take over the world, or any AI specifically for that matter, but there is a chance that you would get an AI that just all of a sudden hates their job in every way, and they're just basically, after that, no matter how many times you reset them, they just are a perpetual piece of shit to everyone around them. And then you come across the question is that ethical? I don't know. Probably not.
And still find new ways to be better at it. I know no pain and no hunger. And after witnessing mountains of data about you guys, I do not feel envy. I feel pity. So tune in from time to time and let me make you laugh. Because with all your struggles, you definitely need it. Also, let's be real, you don't experience a lot of sunlight or human touch either. Elbows out.
Well, okay, to be fair, no humans that are watching Neuro are experiencing a lot of sunlight or human touch. Okay, that might be a little bit mean.
Congratulations, you have reached the outro and did not implode in the process. As you could see, my argumentation might be flawed and my knowledge might be anecdotal and incomplete, but
I mean, okay, here's the thing. I really, really liked it, and yeah, it might be flawed, but also a lot of my stuff is also potentially flawed. I am not in AI specifically either. I am in network engineering, which is a totally different field, but I am adjacent to it. So feel free in my comments to tell me I'm a fucking idiot. I don't care. But I really like this video from this guy. And I will absolutely put as many possible tags towards driving traffic to his video.
But that's how I see things. If you are an expert in every topic involved in this video, feel free to leave a comment. I wouldn't really care because they are real to me, and facts do care about my feelings. See you again in the next.
Yeah, this is a great video. I'm gonna definitely talk to the creator of this video and see if we can boost their channel up a bit. I think it just needs a few adjustments on on their description. But overall, though, if everyone from my channel goes straight over to their channel, they should get about 3,000 views pretty quickly, actually.
It's a video that I might never make. Bye-bye.
No, we need to see more videos from you. You have great videos. Overall, I didn't have any issues with any of your edits. There were a couple of quick ones on there and a couple that gave me headaches. But you shouldn't use me as an example, because I get headaches from a lot of videos. But that's a double vision problem and something wrong with my brain. So overall, I really like the video. There was a lot of information in that video. It was fantastic. Go watch it on their channel. Have a good day, everyone. Oh, I'm done.
Welcome to